taxes, we deal in assessments or appraisals.
Okay.
Taxes have nothing to do with us because we don't control the mill rate. So
So
talk
it-
to us about appraisals, okay?
All right, so the assessment went up to 271. You deal with that, right?
Is that the assessment or the appraisal?
The assessment went up to 271,200. That's what's listed on the price and tax history. Now that's a tax.
Well, the appraisal is 100% and the assessment is 70% of that. So if you tell us what it was appraised at, you're talking about just the dwelling?
Well, the whole property. I think just the dwelling, because all it says was they came and did a visit, and based on that particular unpermitted addition, they upped everything up 24.2%. So the 271 would be the assessed value. Is that correct?
You mean? I don't have a 271 on my sheet here.
The tax assessment, is that what we're talking about?
Well, I'm looking at your card, and
The price and tax history is where I got that information from.
let's see, we don't have tax history because that taxes change with the mill rate. All we have is the values, and at the moment, well, you paid $335,000 for it,
That's correct.
and now it's being valued at $321,600.
Right.
So I don't understand why you would think you're being over.
Because back in 2011, it was increased 24%. The whole issue is there was an addition that was put on the house prior to me purchasing that was never permitted.
Yeah,
And-
I see that on the card. There was no permit.
Right. No, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that this addition was there when you bought it?
No, I didn't know that it was unpermitted. I didn't go through that. My real estate agent and the other real estate agent never disclosed that to me, that this was an unpermitted addition.
I don't think that would affect the value of it today.
Well, it increased it as of 2011, 24%.
There might have been a penalty involved for not getting a permit. I don't know.
There might have been what? I'm sorry?
Maybe there was a penalty involved because of not getting a permit. I don't know.
Where would that be addressed?
I have no idea. We're here today to look at the value of the property as it is appraised today, and it's actually being appraised for less than what you paid for it 2 years ago. So because somebody did an addition without a permit, I don't think that has anything to do with what you're asking today.
Well, if it was not increased to 24% increase back in 2011, wouldn't the value of my house be lower today because of that?
Not necessarily. The value of your house was $450,000 back in 2004.
Right.
The real estate market was higher.
Okay.
And it is waterfront, so there's a big portion of your taxes that are because it's waterfront. And being waterfront, I know about that. Because I am waterfront.
Okay, so how do you assess it then? I mean, you don't look at prior year's assessment and subtract?
I think the assessor, they have a formula that they use when they appraise properties and houses, and it varies depending on the market from time to time.
Okay.
So yours was valued at almost $500,000 back in 2004. So, and now, it's 335, which is what you paid, and you're now only being appraised for 321,600, and your assessment is 70% of that. So I don't know about, what do you think, Alan? Do you think there's a basis for doing anything here?
Well, I would be looking for an independent appraiser, Miss Goodwin,
I'm
to
here.
come
just
to
so
us
you know.
with information on what that independent
Well,
appraiser
that would
would say.
have to be next year because,
Right.
I mean, that's why we have an assessor and we pay him to do these things. If you can bring us, like next year, bring us comparable houses that are being valued at less, that would be
Discuss.
more of a way to let us know you think your house is being appraised too high or assessed too high. Linda, Louise looked back at the tax history and there was an addition done without a permit and the value went up 24.5%, and she feels that because she didn't know and no one had known at the time that it was done without a permit that she's being over assessed. But she paid $335,000 in 2018, and 2 years later it's only being appraised at $321,600. There was a time back in 2004 when it was sold for $450,000 because the real estate market went way up and waterfront properties became very expensive. So my feeling is that I don't think the appraisal or assessment right now has anything to do with what happened in 2011 with an addition with no permit. So I don't see a basis. It was revaluated, it says in 2010, based on renovations with no permit.
So you're saying because that increase, it has nothing to do with the value of it today?
No.
But wouldn't they look at that square footage in that room and add that today to the assessment, which means that was unpermitted, so by right, that shouldn't have been added in? So my concern is
Not having a permit doesn't change the size of your dwelling. It goes by the size of your dwelling, and when you bought it, that dwelling was there with the addition.
Right, but some assessors don't look at, if they know that there's a particular room or something that's not permitted, they will not add that
Did
to
you
that.
talk to the assessor about this?
No. See, again, I didn't know. Oop, you still there?
Yeah. We're still here.
I lost you. Okay. No, I didn't talk to my assessor because first of all, I didn't need an assessor at that point, the way I purchased it. But the issue is resale value. If people know that the house is not whole, if they know that there's some part of the house that's not permitted, that wasn't done accurately, or maybe not accurately, but by permit, that reduces the resale property of my house. Assessors won't add that. I've done some research on it, and assessors won't add that to the assessor's report, which means my house would be assessed at a lower rate, which means whoever is coming in to purchase the house may not be able to get, if there's a loan through the bank, because they look at the assessor's rate.
But this was done 10 years ago.
I know.
Well, why would it affect the value of your house today? Anyone that comes in, a real estate agent is going to look at what the house looks like today and the footage today. It's not going to go back and say, well, 10 years ago they did something without a permit. I don't see that point.
Well, some real estate agents out there, if they did a proper job and saw that, they would have brought that up and said, that was unpermitted. Do you still want the house? Now, if I had known that the room was not a permitted room, I might have gone back and forth and said, okay, I want someone to come out here and check it out, make sure it's, as it should be.
Would you have preferred that they made the person that did it take it down?
Take the price down?
Whatever the addition was.
To take it down? No.
When you bought the house, you bought it with that addition.
Right,
But not knowing.
I mean, I feel that I don't know whether the room is up to code and all that.
Well, that's what I think is why you should go and talk to our town assessor. And if he feels you are justified in wanting it lowered, they can do that in the coming year. We're going to have a reval pretty soon.
I know, this might affect that
It'll
as
start next year.
right. So the town assessor is not in your area? That's a totally different person?
What?
Who is the town assessor?
John Chuponis.
And I can talk to him directly regarding this issue
He's in
and,
the office on Monday evenings from 5 to 7 and on Thursday mornings. And you can call Roberta Doherty. She's the assistant and she can tell you when he's in the office. You can have him come and inspect your house and see if there's a change in the value. But for this particular issue, this is not relevant to what we're talking about. It's
okay.
easy to
So the
change
town assessor is the one I should talk to. He's got the clout to do whatever he needs to do for the
He's the
assessment?
one that values the properties in Andover. He's also the assessor in the town of Colchester, full-time and
Okay.
part-time here.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay?
So I will go ahead and talk to him and,
And it will only be good for next year because this year, this is the end of our
that's fine.
BAA. Okay?
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you very much, Georgette.
You're welcome.
Can I drop off the?
For recording, I just have a question for recording purposes. The letter that you read, Louise, be posted or shared with the board, Georgette?
I didn't.
Sure. If you want to email it to Amanda, she can put it up.
Okay, well, is that something I should just talk to John about? I mean, does it need?
That would be my recommendation, that you would go to him first to see if it should affect the value of your house today because of what's done. That's not really something that we've ever had to deal with.
Okay,
And I don't personally, as a BAA member, feel that it changes the value of your house just because 10 years ago somebody did something without a permit, okay? But that's, I don't know, Alan and Linda, do you feel that that's justified in lowering the assessment because something was done without a permit 10 years ago
No.
by a former owner?
I don't see that as being the case, but
Okay,
Yeah, I don't believe so.
okay,
And I think she should talk to the assessor first.
right.
That's usually, I think, the way it's done, right? They talk to the assessor and then if they can't come to an agreement, they would come to the board.
Right,
Okay.
exactly, okay?
will do. All right,
Okay,
thank you.
Louise, thank you very much for coming.
Okay,
And,
I'm gonna drop off unless you need me on.
no, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, thanks for
Bye,
coming.
everybody.
All right, now I'm going to make a motion that we don't change anything on this.
I'll second that.
You second it? Okay. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, thank you. And now, the second one is Daryl and Gretchen Stein.
Yes.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. So our house has severe foundation damage. It's the condition commonly known as crumbling concrete.
Yes,
We understand that there's a statute which allows for an adjustment of the assessment if we can show we have that condition. I submitted several documents, both from professional engineers. The first was a professional engineer that I retained, and he showed that our house has severity category 3 damage, and that has allowed us to be on a list. And when the funding becomes available, we will have our foundation replaced.
right. I read all your documents and
Okay.
highlighted a few things. There is definitely damage and you have the right paperwork, and you did go to the assessor, didn't you, with this?
That is correct. He was at my house and he took photos himself.
Okay. Very good. The only thing from reading through, you have down that you based on the damage or whatever, 90% reduction.
Yeah,
And
I don't
from what I
claim,
read,
I'm sorry, I'm not an I don't, I'm not knowledgeable of how it gets adjusted. That was just something I found on the internet.
well, they did have some guides from the CROG paperwork. I think you sent that to us.
That's
too.
correct. So
Right.
they had, it's in my summary letter. It's one of the appendices. It's Appendix B in my summary letter. And they have something called level D, which is moderate to severe degradation. And I think I meet that level because the foundation it has to be replaced. I'm definitely not at level E because the house is not condemned.
Right, and from what I read, I know I talked to the assessor and he felt it was 60%, but from what I read, I think it's 75%. I don't think it's up to 90 yet. But
Okay. So, yeah. I
I
mean,
would say 75%, which is minor to moderate degradation. And they use those terms in the inspection that I read. So that's why my suggestion would be to lower it. See, I'm looking at the November 2019 supplemental PE report, and it said, based on total count of coarse aggregate particles and aggregate to be approximately 60%. But of course, that was in 2019, and I'm sure, have you done anything to mitigate this getting worse faster or not?
no, I have not. I have not.
Now, you're planning on having your foundation replaced.
Well, I am on the list to have it done, but
Okay.
we will only do it if, we need to do it for safety reasons, and that's not the case, or when funding becomes available.
Okay. So, I don't know, did Alan or Linda, did you get a chance to read through these documents at all?
No.
Linda's muted.
All right, sorry, I had to let the dog out.
Oh, okay.
What happened?
Did you get to read through any of the documents of Daryl Stein and Gretchen Stein's reports on their foundation and, the crumbling foundation?
I looked through it quickly and I'm not an expert on it
Well,
myself.
I did go through them, and my feeling, I know I talked to the assessor way back. It seems like it was, before the March meetings, which we didn't have. And he thought it was like 60%. But when I started reading through the reports and all that, I feel it's more like 75%. So
Okay. That was where I left off when I went to let the dog out, was I heard that.
So let me ask a question. Do you need to follow the CROG guidelines?
I just lost
No.
sound.
The CROG, we don't need to because it's our decision.
Okay.
And reading through, I read through all of these and I highlighted different lines that I thought were important. And of course, I'm not an expert either by any means, but I think lowering the dwelling to 25% of what it is now would help a lot. I disagree with the assessor in that he said 60%, but I think it's more like 75.
Okay.
I don't think it's 90.
Okay. So I guess there's a small difference between our positions. One more thing. If we go by CROG, I think we're definitely level D because significant repairs are required. I have to have the foundation replaced. I cannot sell the house without replacing the foundation. Level C, which would be 75%, it says repair suggested or recommended, and it's also minor degradation. I definitely do not have
It says
minor.
minor to moderate, doesn't it?
That's correct. But
Yeah, and I think yours is more moderate rather than severe.
so we have a wall where there's about an inch of displacement
Mhm.
in the basement. I mean, so, I mean, my position it's my next door neighbor's house was the same builder. They recently had their house set down. What has the customarily happened in the past in Andover? Has it been 75%?
I have no idea. We've not had anyone come to us with this.
Oh, okay.
Georgette, I have a series of questions when I can ask them.
Sure.
Sure.
So we are looking at the Public Act last week when we did our hearing. So are we doing a reduction based on the 5-year allowance? Is that
That's what it would be. It would be for 5 years. So it would give him that, his house would only be valued at 25% of what it is now for the next 5 years. So it would give him time to get the foundation replaced.
Okay, so last week when we had this discussion with the other gentleman, the question came up that every town uses a different formula. Apparently, every assessor is allowed to create their own formula. So
I
some
mean, rather than 5 years?
no, the statute, the Public Act addresses the 5 years. That's a given. But what I'm saying is, John Chaponis, what formula is he using to do this? Some towns,
I don't know. I'm going by CROG.
well, is that, so Andover follows the CROG policy is what you're telling me?
I have no idea what they follow, but I've read all the reports. I've highlighted, I've read them twice. And
I mean, I could only suggest a devaluation based on public information I can find, and CROG is the information that I found, and that's why I'm presenting you with a 90% number.
All right, so one of the things we discussed last weekend is if you present a value for foundation replacement, say it's 150,000, then we were talking about reducing, say your house is worth $400,000 with a good foundation, but it's going to cost you $150,000 to replace the foundation. We were saying if we reduce your value by the cost of a new foundation, that's an appropriate value. And so we discussed this on another case last weekend, and I
that other case, we're gonna go back over it today.
Oh, I understand that. I understand that. But I thought we had left it, and Linda, you can pipe in when you want, but I thought we had left it. We were going to ask John Chaponis what criteria he was using, how is he doing this?
I don't know, and he would just say that the BAA has the responsibility to come up with a formula or a percentage. I mean, they throw it back at us.
So we had this discussion last weekend, and I thought we as a group collectively thought that whatever a valid appraisal is, minus the value of the construction company's repair, would be an appropriate value.
I don't think that's how it works. I think they look at the percent of damage. And
They being CROG.
well, no, I'm talking about the assessor would look at the percent of damage. They did core drilling or whatever. And I see over here, it says 60%. And then another place, it says 60%. And I'm willing to say 75%. Because if you look at the November 2019 report, it has that figure in a number of places. And there were some suggestions of what they could do to repair the cracks to keep it from getting any worse quicker.
So to cut this short, I would be willing to accept the 75%, but later, if I find that the value of the foundation is actually worth more than the building, would that take me down to 0%?
I have no idea. You'd have to go through the assessor again.
Right.
Okay.
So I mean, the value to replace the foundation will definitely be almost as much as the house is worth. So it's probably close to 90%, but I would accept 75%, or if we want to proceed.
That's only for 5 years.
I understand, but
Yes, so
hopefully
that-
within 4 years, I'll have this replaced. 4 or 5 years.
That's what they hope. He can, you can either do it this year and have us lower it by 75% this year
Well, at
and
this
the next
time,
4 years.
at this time, I'd rather start the tax reduction as soon as possible, which I believe
Okay.
allows me to do.
Okay.
Linda,
All right.
any comments?
Yep, I'm good with the if he's willing to accept the 75%.
I
I'm
mean,
good with that. Like I said, I'm not very knowledgeable about crumbling foundations at all, so I'm gonna have
No.
to go with you guys.
I'm not either, but I kept reading through all these things and then looked at the CROG, what they give you as a basis and all that. And I really think 75% is closer than 90%.
Okay, I consider it fair.
Okay?
Not that it's my decision, but it's
Right, I know.
I'm happy
We're
with
trying to
it.
be fair because there's
Oh, I
going to be
see.
other people, I'm sure, that will have that problem too. So I'm going to make a motion that we reduce the dwelling, which is, the appraisal is 177.9, the assessment is 124.5. And so we reduce the appraisal amount by 130. Let me see my figures here. Wait a minute. My figures are 25% would be 44,475, which would be the new value of his dwelling. We're talking the dwelling, not the,
Right.
the land. We don't do the whole
I understand.
the land. So the total, let me think now. Okay, the total, your house is assessed at 124.5, and it would be now assessed at 44
Okay.
44,475. And so your total assessment we'd be reducing, and I'll have to get the numbers out and I'll get them out in a letter to you, but we'd be reducing it to 25% of what it's assessed at now. Okay?
Okay.
All right. I'm going to make a motion that we reduce the dwelling by 75%, which means it will be only valued at 25% of what it is now.
I will second that.
Okay, thank you. And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, so it's unanimous. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, and I hope you get that fixed real soon.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye. I'm trying to take notes at the same time because I'm also the secretary.
We have a
Unfortunately,
secretary in next year's budget though, right?
What?
We have funding for a secretary in
We
next year.
probably have it now, but
Yes,
the
you
way
should
things are going, it's
have it.
very hard to get, someone in. It would have to be Amanda or somebody like Amanda to do the minutes, so I'll
Right.
just do them myself, okay?
Yes, it should be funded next year.
That's what I thought. Thank you.
Yeah,
Approved.
okay, so we have that one done. The reports are very interesting, really. And this is Stein, okay. Put a clip on this, get it out of the way. And now the next one would be Jasinski. I wish you had gotten us this paperwork much sooner, and I would have had a hard copy, but I did look through all of them. And I have pictures of what the house and the inside looked like when you bought it, because I went out on the internet and looked at the realtors, and it looks quite nice.
It looked quite nice.
Yeah.
So first of all, thank you, and my apologies for getting that email out so late. I just new to this and kind of did not know what I'm doing, and maybe still don't. But so just to start off, we live in Andover, not at 40 Townsend, but at a different address. That property we essentially purchased for the land. The house came with it. We had it inspected. We knew more or less from the inspection of what condition it's in. Since then, it's been vacant. It's been vacant. It's been vacant since we bought it. So originally we thought we might rent it or fix it up. I asked a couple contractors to take a look at what it'd be fixing it. And essentially it would probably, they told me it would either cost as much to put up a new one as to fix it, or maybe even more expensive to fix it. So the gentleman that owned the building before us did a number of additions to it throughout the years that he lived. And with each addition, the value went up. The problem with what he did not address the core building, the original building. And that has significant structural damage. The floors are sagging close to 3 inches in spots. The plaster on the walls was cracking. Essentially, we decided that we are going to demolish the building. We're in the process through the building with the Andover Building Department and Wetlands to get a permission to demolish it. Since then, we also had asbestos inspection. So all the plaster that was cracking, that was asbestos. The floor had some asbestos. We brought in a company that abated the structure. So removed all the cracking drywall, which exposed a lot of the structure, and the termite damage in the structure, in the wood, is a lot more significant than the original inspection that I showed you is. A lot of the sheeting on the walls, you could poke holes in it. But anyway, for me, that building will be getting demolished. It's essentially would be uninhabitable. I mean, not at least safely. Also, what happened when the abatement took place, it exposed a lot of what was in the walls. The fiberglass insulation was shredded by rodents, and there was a very healthy rodent community living in the walls. With that comes the smell. It's soaked through the house. So essentially, it's going to be demolished. It's going to be demolished within a year, but I'm still going to be paying taxes on it for a year. So I was wondering if reduction in assessment is possible.
Have you had spoken to the assessor after all of this, that he could go back in and reassess it?
No, I did not. I thought this was the way to go through it.
Well, it is now, but it would have been better to go to him first, because he could have done it without all of.
I mean, we did mention it to him because we've been in the office a number of times, but before all this social distancing. And we mentioned that we're probably going to end up taking the house down. We asked all about that. And he said that even though we do it, we're still paying taxes for, well, the way that taxes work.
He said it needs to be done before October 1st.
So we need to get it done before October 1st, but
Exactly. I have to tell you that we had a case last year where their house burned and the whole side was gutted, but
Yes.
the other side was still standing. And they can't drop the assessment on that unless they level the building down to the ground. And that's the only way the assessment would change.
Okay.
Now yours is a different case because your house is still there and it, for all intents and purposes, you could live in it, which you probably wouldn't want to anyway. But if you're gonna, demolish the building and leave nothing but the land,
Yeah.
are you gonna leave the basement, the foundation?
Well, that I don't need the foundation, so I have to find out with the, I guess the assessor's office, whether that can stay or whether I need to rip it out just to get rid of it. In the future, I will not be building on the same footprint. So the basement or the foundation is no good to me.
Okay. All right, well, we can't just wipe out, the price of the building. We
I
can,
understand.
we can lower it.
Mhm. That's what I'm here for, to see if we could get it lowered.
Okay, now, neither one of you got a chance to look at the inspection report that he sent us this morning. There is some,
I posted it on the website if that helps.
I don't know if, if you have time now. I can give you a little bit of it. I mean, there is some termite damage. It didn't say excessive. It just said some. And there is some leakage from, pipes. And there was no mention of rodents in the walls, but that probably didn't come to light until later on.
It did not come to light until later on.
I mean, we have the same thing. My house was originally a cottage.
Mhm.
And so when we had additions done and we took down walls, we saw pretty much the same type of thing. We never, went to have anything lowered, but I can see where you're coming from. I did work out some numbers this morning after I got your report and I went through it. I think my suggestion, because it looks pretty nice in the pictures when you bought it. I mean, I went through and I printed out 38 pages of the inside and it, we have a lot of wood inside our house too.
Well, yes, pictures look nice. The outside of the house still looks nice to this day because siding does wonder. Inside of the house, there's a discrepancy between what you see on a picture and what's in reality. Since then, it changed, but that doesn't, I mean.
They had last sold $260,000.
Excuse me?
They had the real estate agency had on there, it was last sold at 260,000.
That's together with the land.
With, right.
With
Now,
this
it shows here that you paid 198.9. I'm looking at your on your card.
Okay, so
Yes, 198.9 for that piece with the 1 acre with the house. Yes, that's what
Okay.
it was. So
Well, the numbers that I came up with, the dwelling itself is appraised at 145.6.
yes,
And I think that if we lowered that to 100,000, so that would make your assessment 70,000.
mhm.
And I think that would be fair,
Every little bit helps. So yes,
okay? But you need to work with the assessor. There's nothing more that can be done this year because it has to be done on the October grand list, which was last October is what we're dealing with,
okay.
okay?
Yes.
So do Alan and Linda, do you have comments?
Yeah, I have a question.
Sure.
So my question is, the report that you have in hand, does it have an appraisal value? Does it say
No.
this house is worth?
No,
See, I would look for an independent appraisal to come in, examine this house with all the damages, rodents, termites, and say, I think it's worth X dollars.
well, it's too late for that. We have to make that decision today.
Based
So-
on a report that I haven't read yet.
Well, it doesn't have an appraisal value anyway. It just tells all the different things they found
Well, as,
2 years ago.
Że najbardziej ważne są te pages.
essentially, the reason I thought I mean, I know I should have documented everything better. The reason I thought to send that report is just to back up what I was going to say. The main reason I'm looking for a appraisal reduction, because even if the house was got it down to the studs, if the main structure was in good condition, I'm not expecting a reduction in value just because some sheetrock is missing. But the problem is that the whole structure of the house, the main structure, it's just sagging. It's supported by lolly columns because otherwise it would just cave in. And once I had that asbestos removed, it showed a lot more damage to the structure than that original pre-purchase inspection found, because it exposed the structure.
Well, it said in the report that the tiles were generally used were asbestos as well as the glue.
Yes, and after the inspection, it showed that all the plaster walls contain asbestos, so I had to get rid of that too.
Yeah,
So it exposed
the
essentially
structure.
the structure, the interior structure, which
And you can like poke your finger into the wood
Yeah.
and it goes through.
and like I said, I wish I was a little bit more prepared, and I know it's too late now. So whatever I can get, I'm happy.
Okay. I will. Linda, do you have any opinions or?
I have the report up on my screen and I was just scrolling through it, and you can definitely see that there's some damage there.
Yeah.
And what was your suggestion as to the
Well,
amount?
the dwelling is appraised at $145,600.
Okay.
And I would like to make a motion to lower the appraisal of the dwelling to $100,000, which would make their assessment $70,000. Because
Okay.
it's 70% of 100,000. So that does help a little.
I would say I'd second that motion.
Okay. Yes.
All right. And so all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Let me write this down before I forget. Okay. And I'll say aye myself.
That makes it unanimous.
Alan seconded. And it's unanimous. Okay. All right, so try to get that done before the October grand list.
I definitely, that's the plan, as long as
Okay. All
as
right, thank you very much.
all right, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Good luck.
Okay, then the next one is Stephen King. Is Stephen King here?
I am here.
You are, okay. Biggest problem is that you didn't file for
And
personal.
that's completely my fault, and I apologize. A little background, this is a part-time thing that I do. I am on the board of directors for the Andover Sportsman's Club. I'm the secretary, I'm the chief range safety officer, I'm the chief instructor over there. I'm a chief instructor for the Department of Energy and Environmental Protection. I'm an NRA instructor, CRSO. I'm the armorer and a corporal for the first company, Governor's Foot Guard. I'm also the president of the Connecticut Gun Guild. This is something that when I joined the club some 7, 8 years ago, there was a need for somebody to facilitate the legal transfers of firearms at the club. And having experience and having an FFL back in the 80s, I decided to get my license again. But in order to do so, I had to get proper zoning requirements, permits, and subsequently what I do, even though it's really minuscule in scale, is recognized as a business in Andover. And because of that, there's personal property that's assessed.
Right.
Again, I completely apologize, but being very busy, this was a complete oversight on my part, and I'm here to just to rectify it.
Okay, well, you realize, I mean, the assessment comes to 3760, but that it's a very small amount of tax you'd have to pay, that's for sure, because of the mill rate that's coming up. But
did you should have the paperwork that I submitted of the actual property that I use.
We don't have it.
That was submitted with the report that I gave you on 2/13/2020. My total, I was originally assessed at 110 or for $110. That assessment is essentially accurate, except for the fact that I added an addition of a safe in 12/8/2019, the very end of 2019,
Okay.
for an additional $700 that I purchased from Cabela's. My total actual value of stuff associated with this business is now $825, which is was $700 or $705 more than the original $110 assessment.
I realize that. Now, their penalty, we can't do anything about. And now there's an assessment of $750 or 25% penalty. We can't do anything about that.
I completely understand it. Penalties. I mean, it's my fault that I didn't do this, and I'm not arguing penalties whatsoever. I'm just saying that the $3,760 gross assessment is a number that was just pulled out of thin air, and I'm giving you an accurate account of exactly.
Well, let me explain what happens when people fail to file. She has certain amounts that she values for, like a desk, a chair, a phone, a computer, a printer. And so she tries, and she uses pretty much the same figures for everyone. They don't file, and that's what causes the problem, because they don't file. She doesn't know what you have and what it's valued at, so she has to do a standard. She figures, because it happens to be a woman that is the assistant, and because you have an LLC, there has to be an assumption that you are doing the business and that you have these pieces of equipment and certain amount of supplies. And I understand that you don't have that much, but the only thing that I would say, I mean, we would have to readjust all the values here, and then that would adjust the penalty. But with a gross assessment.
Again, I have an itemized list that was the same itemized list except for the safe that I added the end of 2019 for approximately for a cost of $700.
Georgette, I have that list. He's got an iPhone, Dell computer, 19-inch monitor, keyboard, mouse, LaserJet printer, Liberty safe.
I didn't get it.
What? They sent it to me.
I don't have it either.
Yeah, they sent it to me. I got it. So, he says his equipment's worth $825. So what does Roberta list? I don't have that.
She has
$3,760.
No, but what items did she list?
Well, she doesn't. She just says furniture, fixture, and equipment, $840, EDP equipment, which is a computer, and and then supplies, $70, miscellaneous taxable property, $700, and then penalty is $750.
So her value for supplies and equipment is what?
$3,760.
$3,750.
Because it's 25% of whatever the value is that,
Okay, I'm losing you here. She put a value of $3,750 on items for this gentleman's business.
Yep.
And then she assessed 25% of that number as a penalty?
no, that's including the penalty.
All right, so give me just the value of his equipment, less the penalty.
According to the paperwork I have, it says current assessment for 2019 grand list is $3,760.
It would be 3,010 without the 750 penalty.
Are you saying that this 750 penalty is included in the gross assessment?
It is because you didn't file, right? There's always a penalty when you don't file. Believe me, the first time I didn't file, because I didn't know about it, I paid a penalty.
Well, I would make a motion that we reduce the equipment value to $825.
And then the tax would be on that plus a 750 penalty, correct?
It would be a 25% penalty.
Of that value,
Oh, the penalty would be less.
correct,
Right. The penalty would be $206.
correct.
Okay. Reduced equipment.
Was that a motion, Alan?
Yes, it was.
Then I'll second it.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, let me write that down. I got a lot of notes here to keep. Okay, motion made by plus penalty. Motion is Alan. Second is Linda. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Okay, 825, so the penalty would be 25% penalty, 206. Okay. So it brings it to 1031. As opposed to 3760, okay?
Mr. King, are you hearing this?
Yeah, I don't quite understand. You're just saying the gross assessment is now $825 for equipment, I thank you for that because that is accurate. And then there's a 25% penalty. So what's the total bill here?
1031 times the mill rate. I mean, I know the mill rate.
Okay, all right. So am I going to receive a bill?
Oh, you'll receive your tax bill.
Okay,
And when I file these papers with the assessor's office, they will lower this to the amount we said. And
okay.
that's what you should see in your tax bill.
Do I need to file an amended report for this year or?
No, our actions.
I think you might. I mean, I would talk to Roberta Doherty about that if she wants you to send. You didn't file a personal property.
No, I didn't. That's why I'm here.
Okay. So you definitely need to file one next year or this is going to happen all over again.
I
Those are
understand.
the standard numbers she uses, okay?
And that's why I prefaced with all I do. I get pretty tied up in stuff. And this
Okay,
is just
yeah.
such a small part of my life that
I know.
I missed it.
I get it. I understand. I have the same problem because of an old 47 Jeep that we have in the garage that doesn't run and isn't registered. So there you go.
Is it a Willys?
Yes.
Really?
J2A.
Oh, you were
Wow,
just
yeah.
telling it.
My husband used to do four-wheel racing.
Oh, okay.
Until
I was actually looking for a World War vintage type Willys, but whatever.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. I appreciate it, and I will make sure that I file proper paperwork next year.
Okay, make sure that you file, so we
I will.
don't have to come to us again, okay?
Okay, I don't want to get spanked again.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right. Now, we need to revisit some things. Mr. Bunce? You're here, right, Mr. Bunce?
He's muted. He's muted, but he's here.
Okay.
There he is.
Can he be unmuted?
He is now.
I just unmuted him.
Yep.
Okay,
Thank you.
Mr. Bunce.
Yes.
Okay, we did review your paperwork, and you did provide us with the personal property filing and the tax bill for the town of Coventry for that Lowell forklift. So what I am proposing is that we drop yours back down to 10 or 10.5 like it was last year and the other years.
Yeah.
To remove that lull.
Okay.
And so, and please, please, please file
I did.
your personal property.
I did.
You did put some figures here.
Yeah. Well, she asked me for the years and the serial
Yeah.
numbers of the equipment, but
I
yeah.
did, yeah, I put it in the letter because she had asked me to put it in the letter.
Okay.
So,
I
but
appreciate
make
it.
sure you file that personal property document.
Yep.
And then you won't, because it, you know, it adds a penalty if you don't.
Yeah. Well,
You
like
don't- Yeah.
we
you
did file it this year.
don't- Yeah, well,
File. Yeah.
okay.
You have a copy. The yeah, and she did say last Saturday we talked about the assessment on the land.
Right.
And she said that I never did receive anything. She said it was put into the computer, but I never received a letter on it, but she
That would
said it
have to
was
come from
straightened
the
out.
Assessor's office. We don't have anything to do with the 490 and stuff, you know.
Right, right. No, you just said I
That's
should have been
been corrected.
notified that that was all taken care of, and I wasn't. So she said it was a complete, something to do with the computer that I never got notified.
Okay, then I will make a
But it
note.
was all straightened out, she said.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So I will make a note to have her send you a notice or a letter or whatever, okay, about that?
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Letter from assessor. About 490. And
So
then
Georgette, you're going to make a motion?
I'm going to
reduce-
make a motion that we reduce his assessment back to 10,500, like it was without that lull machine.
I'll
Okay.
second that.
As far as I think that's, yeah, that would be the same thing. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll do that. Who's going to second it?
Alan?
Alan seconded it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, aye, unanimous.
Aye.
All right, so that takes care of that one. One of the other things let's see, Jeffrey Hickok, he did not,
He never
I can
presented.
log off.
no, he never presented. The Clates never presented, so they're done. I have to make a correction to last week's minutes because I made the motion to reduce the Koval property. No, I don't remember who made the motion now, to be honest. Let me see. Yeah, well, there was a motion made to reduce it by 37,000.
I think Linda did that.
Yeah, probably. But I have the minutes somewhere. I just don't have them with me right at the moment. They were in a
Yeah, I
pile.
think it reduced to, I
The
think.
problem in the minutes, I had put 482,000 down to 445,000. It's actually 482,100 down
Got
to 445,100. So I'm going to correct that in the minutes.
Correct,
Okay.
that's good.
Okay?
Yep,
All right, now. Oh, here it is, the minutes. Yeah, it's it was made by Alan and seconded by Linda.
oh, there you go.
Okay.
Now, Donald Simmons, this is we made a terrible mistake last time because our calculations would end up really not coming out the way we wanted. And he did not provide me with his phone number. He did not provide me with his email address. And I don't know, I just kind of feel like it's like he's avoiding making it easy to contact him. And when I calculated out, along with the penalty, at the 3760, like is standard for when you don't file, we wanted to lower his, whatever he would pay, have to pay. And we totally screwed it up because when you multiply it times the mill rate, it would come out to like 17 bucks. So that's wrong. So what I am proposing is a new motion to just leave his assessment the way it is.
I disagree.
To a little over $100, but.
I disagree.
Huh?
I disagree.
You disagree, okay.
Why are you
I
disagreeing?
think the point we were trying to make with that gentleman is that he was obligated by the information the state provided to create an LLC. And we just blanketly did it with a high number, and we accepted his explanation of why he did it. And the reason he doesn't conduct business, he's not looking for giving people his phone number or his address. He's not doing that.
Okay, but let me mention, okay, go ahead.
I don't think that we should be penalizing him for what the state told him to do in order to get monies from that fund.
Why did he not ever go to the assessor's office and report that he thought he had a crumbling foundation?
He didn't even know about the 5-year period for lowering the value. I mean,
If you think
he's very naive.
Okay, we've had crumbling foundation today, and this man went through. He went to the assessor's office. He got an inspection report.
That's him. That's him.
That's true, but I have a problem with someone that. I mean, he says the state told him to. He says he doesn't have a computer.
You said to him that you accepted that.
He doesn't have a computer. I know, but I went searching on the internet.
I am going to remain steadfast in my opinion. So it's going to come down to Linda.
Yeah, why should we change what we did last week? I guess is my question.
We were trying to get to him to have to pay $100. And by mistake, we ended up with what we did. He would end up paying like $13, I think it was, because of the mill rate. We don't deal with taxes. We were talking taxes. We do not deal with taxes. We deal with assessments. And that's where we made a mistake. And it's my fault because I didn't think about it. But we deal with assessments.
Well, then,
I'm
the only thing I would say,
what we did last week, if he's not even here, right?
right.
He could have come. He could have come in. There's no reason why he can't come in. He came in last week.
Yeah, but he was required to last week.
All right,
I think he thinks it's all set. So
right.
I don't see why
I don't want to
would.
change it.
Yeah.
He wasn't in the meeting when we decided this.
So he doesn't know what we decided yet.
No, he doesn't.
Again, my position is I think we need to leave it alone.
You think he should pay $13?
Yep, yeah. And next year he's going to have to refile. He knows that.
I just don't understand why a person that thinks he's got a crumbling foundation, this man is not, I mean,
We're not discussing his crumbling foundation, though. We're talking about an LLC that was made and a number thrown on the LLC. And he explained to my satisfaction why he did it. And he's being naive that he had to file anything. I'm just saying.
Alan, he said he did it because he has a crumbling foundation.
Right. And we told him to go see the assessor about the 5-year reduction. We
But why didn't
educated
you-
him on that.
Wouldn't the first thing you do is go to the assessor and have him come and inspect to see if he thought it was a crumbling foundation?
No,
You wouldn't do that.
not if I thought I could fix it myself. He talked like he thought he was gonna fix it himself, and then when he found out how expensive it was, he went looking for monies from the state. And the state says you can't apply for a grant unless.
Okay, so
again, I-
you want
Yeah.
to leave?
I think we should just leave it as it was.
Thank you.
Okay, then, I'm going to make a motion that we change it back to what the assessor's office sent him. And I'm not gonna get a second, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So the motion doesn't pass, and that will be in the minutes, okay? We'll leave that as it is. That is Simmons. Not seconded. Okay. And now, Stephanie Apatow. I'm gonna make a motion that we just leave it as it is.
That was the girl with the farm, right?
Right.
Is there actually a building on that property?
Oh, yeah, it's her mother's house,
Oh, okay, okay.
but that's not, it's only, she's only assessing her for the LLC and the business equipment. And it's not a large amount because because the values were much lower than she normally, than Roberta normally uses, because Roberta did, because Stephanie did come in and talk to her, but she did not file a personal property. You can't just do a business and say all you have is pots and dirt. It's got to be, other things that you do, and even though it gets, she said a lot is given into her or whatever, the seeds are expensive. So I am for just leaving it the way it is. The assessment is $2,010, and then you multiply that times the mill rate, and it's a very small amount. So I'll make a motion to leave it as is.
All right, I'll second that one.
Okay.
And next year, hopefully she does the form like she's
Right.
supposed to.
Yeah, she's a CPA.
They need to file. They need to put down what it is, that's part of doing business. Okay. This is Apatow.
I think we still have to vote on that though, right?
Correct.
We still have to vote on that one?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Okay, I think that takes care of everything. Let me check the other list here. Hickok, he didn't come, and Clayt didn't come.
Do they still technically have till noon though?
Do we what?
Do they still have till noon to show up in here?
They do.
Okay.
Well, actually, they were scheduled for last week.
Oh, right, okay, both
And
of
I
them.
told them that if they had to be there because that was their appointment.
So everybody that was supposed to be here today came through.
They did come.
All right, good.
So do we normally adjourn or do we have to stay active until noon?
Well, we said 10 to 12, so we do have to kind of stay available.
All right, so can we discuss, I'd like to discuss crumbling foundations and how we approach them in the future.
Sure. Oh, there is one thing that I wanted to talk to you about, Alan, and that was with Don Simmons. No, it wasn't Don Simmons, it was Covels. The Covels in.
Yes, the first one we heard.
Huh? Yeah,
The
we
first
did.
one.
And that's decided, but you should not express your own opinion about the assessor or any dealings you had with him, which you did. You said you had a problem.
I absolutely did. I thought it was relevant to his
No.
presentation.
No, this board is supposed to be impartial. And when you express that,
he gave evidence that a statement was made, and I said to him, the
Yep.
same statement by that person was made to me, so I believe you.
true, but you also said I took him to court, you know, the whole 9 yards.
Well, I did the whole 9 yards because, again, I understand where he's coming from.
True, but I wanted to caution you for your own sake. If we made a decision they didn't like and they took it to court, they could call you as a witness against the assessor. You don't want that. You don't want that.
I want fairness. That's the reason I
We all
signed on
want-
to this board.
That's why we're here, but
I know, but what prompted me to come here was because I felt at the time that it wasn't being fair. And that's what prompted my involvement. And my point was, when the decision was finally made on my case, when that decision was made, it gave me everything that I asked for.
that decision was about land. You came to us about, am I muted?
No, you're good.
You came to us on the Board of Assessment Appeal about some kind of a little shack that was there. It was nothing to do with land.
No, that's not true.
I was on the board.
Well, listen.
I have the paperwork.
Let me tell you, he took 2.6 acres out of forestry and made it a residential building lot. So yeah,
You didn't come to us about that. You might have thought you did, but you didn't. You came to us about the little shack you had.
you're not following this, Georgette. He said the shack was a dwelling. He said you can't have a dwelling on anything but a residential lot. So he took 2.5 acres out of forestry and made it a dwelling property. That
And-
was part of what I presented.
And when they settled out of court with your attorney, he put that land back into forestry.
Yeah, but he took it out. He had no authority to take it out.
Well, it
I
just
just
that,
want to remind everyone that this meeting's recorded. Just
Yeah.
FYI.
okay.
Thank you,
You
Amanda.
wanted to bring it up, Georgette. You wanted to bring it up.
I know, but when you tell people that you took them to court and you won your case, that's not exactly true. It never got to court. It was settled out of court.
No, it was in court. It was reviewed by a judge. He said, don't go to trial. You won't win. He told them that. You can define it any way you want.
All right, whatever. I
So
give up.
Jack, can we discuss crumbling foundations, please?
All right, what do you want to discuss about crumbling foundations?
I want to know what procedure this board is going to accept for future reviews. We had a discussion that the value of replacing a foundation comes off the value of the property. And that's reasonable.
We didn't have that discussion. You said it.
Well, then let's say this. Let's have this discussion.
Okay.
I don't, I'm not really sure that we should do it that way. I think we should go by the inspection reports. And in that inspection report, the amount of pyrite damage or whatever goes according to percentages, and that's what you go by to reduce their assessment. And so, or appraisal actually. And
So
I
you're going for the Council of Governments.
beg your pardon?
So you want to use Council of Government guidelines.
I'm not prepared to make my own guidelines. I have to use what the state gives us.
But
If you
all
want to
that
make up
talks
your own
about,
guidelines, I can't go along with that.
so the state talks about severity and it's not that they're talking about devaluing the foundation. They're saying this much is affected, putting it in this category. So one could be, it crumbles under the bill.
Your microphone is not working.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Alan.
Can't hear you, Alan.
It looks like it's frozen. His
He's
picture is
in
frozen.
time.
It may be something to do with your internet, Alan.
I got a screen message earlier. Okay,
There
your
you are.
internet connection is unstable.
Oh, okay.
You're okay now.
No, so we didn't hear what you said.
Yeah, so this internet, I mean, I have my internet wireless router is probably 20 feet away. So I don't know what's creating this.
Pretty
But,
windy out today.
Yeah, yeah.
Could be the issue.
So I'm just trying to understand what we're applying so everybody gets it applied equally. And, you know, you could say to them, go get an appraisal from an independent appraiser to tell us what they think the value of the home is, less that damage. I don't think it's for us to guess 75%, 60%, 50%, because I'm not an expert, you're not an expert. I want the value set. If they don't believe our assessor, then they should challenge that based on their own assessment value from an independent person.
Well, Mr. Stein did get all kinds of inspections, and, you know, he got an inspection from his insurance company, Allstate Insurance. He got an inspection from, I can't really read it, but it's a company. Let's see if it says it somewhere else, because the insignia is not.
So what I'm saying is that
Ruben Colazzo, State of Connecticut professional engineer. He got a report from there.
Yeah,
then
and that's
his
about
own
the-
personal letter, and then he had the CROG, how they value it. He had a copy of the House Bill 5180. And that's what I used to determine that I thought it was 75%, even though the assessor said 60%, and I read 60% several times in these reports. But I thought because CROG listed,
This may sound like a stupid question, but what is CROG?
Capital Region
it's an
Council of
acronym.
Government.
Thank you.
It stands for, they don't have what it stands
Capital Region
Council of Governments.
Council
for.
of
Government,
Governments.
right.
So
And
my
they have
understanding-
down level A, document to be defective, no sign of a problem. Okay.
But
Level
that's not a value.
Huh?
But that's not a value.
If you let me finish.
Go ahead.
Level B, minor degradation, no repair required, 60%. Level C is minor to moderate degradation, repair suggested or recommended, 75%. See, that's a value. And then moderate to severe degradation, which nowhere in any of these reports does it say it's severe. Significant repairs required, 90%. And then level E is severe degradation, imminent threat of failure, 100%. So they do have values.
No, that's not how I see that.
Well-
What you're citing as percentages tells you how much damage the concrete has. That's what it's telling. It's not a value.
Yeah, but you're going by whatever the new foundation is going to
All right.
cost.
No. Listen, if it was a 4,000 square foot home, right? 4,000 square feet, and the guy next door had a 1,000 square foot home, you could tell me that CROG 70% applies for both of them, but the value's different.
Well, what happens is you look at the card in the assessor's office and it tells you what the value of the dwelling is, the dwelling alone, not, they break it down because you don't have to change the land. You just change the value of the dwelling. And if you lower that by 75%.
But the 75%, I can't explain my position. Linda, are you following what I'm saying?
I'm trying to. I don't think I'm really prepared to make a decision right now, though. But
So
yeah.
the CROG guidelines talks about degradation percentages, not values. They're saying that there's so much of this pyrite material in the cement that it's turning to dust. That's the worst case scenario. Or it has so little that it barely affects the foundation. But the question is, if a foundation has to be replaced, what's the value? The value will be different on a 4,000 or 2,000 or a 1,000. The value's different.
Yes, of course it would be.
So I'm saying what we should be looking for is a deduction. If it has to be replaced, then what's the value of replacement, and take that off the dwelling,
Well,
not the land, the dwelling.
if you read through the reports that I read through, even if you have minimal damage at this time, it could be getting steadily worse because the damage is caused by water and air. And that makes the pyrite turn to dust. So at some point, you should replace your foundation if you've got it. If you don't have, you have very little, maybe not, but it says everywhere that it's going to get worse. It depends on the rate of how fast it's going to get worse. So anyone who has what they call a crumbling foundation should look into getting it replaced.
And for 5 years, they should get a reduction. In my own opinion, and I'm just trying to get an understanding.
The maximum is 5 years, but if they have it replaced in a year, there goes their deduction.
Correct. Correct. I understand that.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, how do we apply value to these equally?
Well, you know, there's no way that, because you can't make everybody go and get an assessment. They have to pay for that, and people don't want to do that very often. So you can't say, go get an appraisal. It's our job to figure out a fair way to deal with it. And the only thing we have to work with is the documents from the reports and from the state. And I mean, we have no other choice. If you want everybody to get an appraisal.
When they come to the board, they're supposed to bring proof or reason that it should go up or down.
They don't.
Well, they should.
Yeah, well, shoulds don't count. You can't go by should. If they don't do it, we have to do the best we can with the material we have. I agree with you. They should have all these documents. We should have had a lot of these documents weeks ago. As soon as they knew it was going to be a virtual meeting, it should have, because I said in there, if you have documents, please, you know, let me know and I'll let Amanda know. But most of the time, only one person let me know, and that was the Covels. The rest of them just sent it to Amanda and me. And I passed them on, so.
Yeah, and then I was away from my computer since yesterday at noon until I logged on this morning. So I didn't have the one you sent this morning.
Right, and I sent it out as soon as I got it. I got it at 8:51 and I read through it and I said, well, this is important, but they don't have time to look at it.
Right.
And I did look through it. And I agree that the house looks, I don't know, Linda, did you ever get a chance to go out and look at the real estate of that house?
I drove out there. I think I had the wrong street number because that's not the house I was looking at.
Oh, it was 40 Townsend, yeah.
Yeah, I think I was looking at 39 for some reason. I don't know why I had that.
I think that was the one across the street. That's where the Covels live.
Oh, maybe I got it confused.
Maybe, yeah. But anyway, I did read through it, and there is some termite damage, and there is, you know, like a leaky pipe here or there. I can't say that it's as bad as they say it is, but I have to take the report. And that's all you can go by is what they have for a report. We can't just totally devalue it to nothing because that's, you know, that's not our, we can't do that. That's not right. The state doesn't even allow us to do that on that property that we had last year that was burned out. It was gutted. And so all they had was the outside and the framing they were having done, but the construction wasn't going very fast. The insurance, you know, was paying, but they couldn't get the guy to come in and he was doing more than one job. And so they were living with their son, and we couldn't take anything off because the state doesn't allow it. When your house burns, you have to raise it down to the ground before your assessment changes or your appraisal, whichever, because people were getting insurance, paid by insurance is the reason I was told. And then they would just leave the structure without fixing it, and they would move on. And so they devalued the rest of the houses on the street, so the state doesn't allow that anymore. You have to raise it to the ground before they take away your, your appraisal or assessment. So the laws are funny too. We do have to, keep that in mind.
I'd just like to see a uniform application.
I know, but there's, it would be nice, but unfortunately we don't have that luxury. We have to use our own judgment and go by reports and go by the numbers we're given. That's all we can do, Alan.
And sometimes we have to go by nothing because they don't give us anything.
Exactly. If you don't give us anything, we can't.
You tend not to change it. If you give me nothing, why should I change? I trust the assessor to have a basic skill.
True.
Did you just say if you give me nothing, why should I change it?
Yeah. In other words, if
Let's remember Simmons, he gave us nothing.
Excuse me?
Simmons gave us nothing.
He gave his testimony. And by law, testimony is valued.
He told us something, but he didn't bring us any proof of anything.
Okay, when you give testimony, it's accept into a public meeting. You're trying to, if you're not telling the truth, you're defrauding a government.
You're absolutely right.
That's a felony.
And I actually, now that you've reminded me, they are actually supposed to take an oath before they testify.
I assumed it was presumed.
Well, some years, when I was on earlier in years ago, we did administer the oath, and then the oath was removed by someone else. And then last year we put it back in, but since we're not dealing with the same paperwork because of the virtual meetings, I totally forgot about it. So we have to assume that they're telling the truth.
So the way it works, though, is if you're trying to defraud a government, local, state, or otherwise, it's a felony to do that. So when you give testimony and your testimony is incorrect by choice, in other words, you're deciding to lie, then we could follow up on that. So when Mr. Simmons gave his testimony, I accepted it.
Well, I did too, until I went looking a little bit further. It's easy to find information on the internet.
And how much of it is true?
I'm not
Information posted on the internet doesn't make it true, doesn't make it false. It's just posted information.
True. I just, I mean, I did a search and I found out some information, and I just don't want to be spreading it around. So it is what it is. We've left it the way it was.
So in the future, in terms of crumbling foundations, let's try to organize a uniform approach.
The only thing I can say about that is that we'll have to go by whatever documents they bring us. If they don't bring us any documents, any inspections or anything like that, luckily this man did give us pretty much about as much as we could expect from anyone. But if you don't even notify the assessor's office that you think your foundation is crumbling, I find that a little odd. So there it is.
There it is.
I don't know if it would be proper, but it seems like we're wasting time sitting here.
I agree.
But
Amanda, what do you know about this? If we're all done, if we were in a regular meeting, we would normally just close the meeting.
No.
No,
When
you
we
go
were
to
meeting
noon?
in person, we sat there for whatever time we said the meeting would be.
Oh, wow.
I just feel like whatever you would do in person, you should do today.
Yeah. I mean, we don't know for sure that Mr. Clate isn't gonna all of a sudden remember he was supposed to be at a meeting and.
Yeah, like I did this morning.
You know? if
Well,
we're not-
we could always mute ourselves and take the
could.
video off and then go about our business and just keep checking to see if anybody's checked in too.
Okay, that's a good idea.
All right.
My computer's open, so.
All right, I'll leave my
Talk
computer
about the
open.
next steps
What did you
for,
say, Amanda?
I was just saying maybe in order to be productive, maybe there's some next steps that you can just go over. Like, I don't personally know how you notify.
Okay, what has to happen? After this meeting, I have to do the minutes from the meeting, which pretty much just, it's the motions and the votes and the people. And then I'm gonna have to compose a letter to each person telling them, even the people that didn't show up, I have to send them a letter saying, you weren't at the meeting, you missed your hearing, so nothing is being done. And I'm gonna try to, what I did before was type up all the letters and email them individually to Roberta, and she put them in a window envelope. She managed to get the address of the person and put it in a window envelope and mail them out. And that's what I'm gonna do with these notices. So I have to have these all of this has to be done by the 20th of May, because that was the date that the governor designated as being, staying at home till the May 20th. So I'm gonna get this done over the weekend, and I will send an individual letter to each person. If you want me to send you each a copy, I can do that.
I would like a copy.
Okay, I can email you each of the letters that I write. And then I'll have Roberta take them down and, print them out and mail them to the individual people. So in September is when we meet for motor vehicle. And because we don't have individual appointments for the motor vehicle part, we have to post a legal notice. I think it's 10 days before in the paper note telling, anyone that wants to come can show up on the hours that we pick. I find Saturdays are usually the easiest, because if people work during the week, or who knows, they work nights or whatever, it's easier for people to get in to see us on Saturday. Is that okay with the two of you? Saturday mornings, like from
Yeah, that's
9 to
fine.
12, or is that
That's
okay?
fine. Hopefully we'll be in person by then.
I would hope so, yes. So
I
that
have
would be
listed on the website, the motor vehicle hearing is Saturday, September 12th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, I guess I should write that down.
what is it?
So on the website,
Yeah,
it says, please note that your real estate appeal forms are due by Thursday, February 20th at 4, which is old information, but maybe it's still important to leave because people know what the
I think
deadline
that's
was.
every year, yeah.
Underneath it, it still says real estate hearings are Saturday, March 14th and March 21st.
Okay,
And then motor vehicle hearing is Saturday, September 12th from 9 to 12. So should I take out, I don't know if you're able to look at the website right now, but should I take out that first part? Because those that were set never happened, they had to be switched. Does that
Right.
make
right, yeah, they were the original dates. Now September is, we were delayed. I think we were delayed last year. I'll have to check the rule book to see. I think, let's see. Must convene at least once in September solely for motor vehicles. Must be published in a local newspaper at least 10 days before the meeting. And this meeting must be held on business days, which may include Saturdays. So it would be September, and hopefully a Saturday would be would be good for everyone.
So you're saying Saturday, September 12th, 9 to 12?
Is that a Saturday this year?
Yes.
Saturday, okay, September 12th, 9 to 12.
Where are you seeing that on the website, Amanda?
So it's under the Board of Assessment Appeals site. So if you go to boards and commissions,
You know, I had to notify the town clerk
Boards and committees.
of the dates of our meetings, which is supposed to be done ahead of time. It wasn't done prior to me being on, being chairman, because the woman that was chairman made them all special meetings because she didn't know, she was a real estate agent too, so she was kind of busy. And if you make it a special meeting, then you only have to notify 24 hours in advance. But I would prefer to have regular meetings, because at a special meeting, you can only discuss what's on the agenda. You can't add or delete anything. So at a regular meeting, you can add and delete. So that's why I prefer regular meetings. But
so
I would agree.
that one special
know
meeting.
when the motor vehicle appeal forms will be due by?
We don't make an appointment. They can just come in.
So they don't have to file an appeal, they can just show up that day?
Right.
Okay.
There will be a notice. I gotta ask Roberta, because I think they should go and get a form and fill it out, but I don't know if it's absolutely necessary.
You want to do the appointment of your chair to a regular position?
We could do that. Would you like to be chairman, Alan?
No, I don't have enough experience yet, or, you know.
Nor do I.
All right. So you'll have to make a motion and vote.
I make a motion that Georgette Conrad be appointed as our chairperson.
I will second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I'll abstain. Okay, window. Second. One abstention. Okay, that's going to be in the minutes too.
Okay, so I will update that on the website right now.
You're going to what? What did you say?
I just updated the website that you're the chair.
Oh, okay. So it's 9 to 12, September 12th. Bring your coffee. And I will check, I don't quite remember now whether they filled out forms or they didn't.
I don't remember either. I went through it only that one time, but
So do you want to make a motion, Georgette, or discuss further the swearing in of anyone who's giving testimony?
Yeah, well, you don't need to make a motion because it is on the forms, and I had forgotten that because we're not using the forms. Yeah, it's at the bottom of the forms. I do hereby declare under penalty of false statement that the statement, according to the best of my knowledge, remembrance, and belief, is true, and they sign it. But
Right.
they did sign it. I think most of them did. Yeah. But we actually should verbally give them that.
Yeah, they should fully understand, because if a wife speaks up,
Right.
she may be a co-applicant, she might not be listed, but
Mhm.
we have to understand that.
Yeah. See, the whole way of doing things has changed since I was on way back when I was actually chairman way back. We had regular forms that we used to do all these appraisals and, but once I left, the people that took over changed all the forms, changed all the letters. It was a much simpler routine then, but that's fine. We can work with this. This is good. And then last year we came up with new forms that were actually much clearer and much easier for the people to understand. So that's what we're using now. And the old
Maybe,
put back on.
maybe as a recommendation, I would say change the form again and actually include something about presentation of materials needs to be sent to the board's review at least a week prior to your hearing.
It does say, please provide a copy of the assessment or tax bill you are appealing.
But
Yeah, they do have,
But that's not their backup information. That's just the,
what we're looking for is when someone has a lengthy report, someone has an independent appraisal, you know, pictures that they want to show us pictures. I mean, they should be getting that to us as soon as possible.
well, when I send out the letters for their appointments, I did put on there to bring documents.
Well, I was just wondering if we could make it a part of the form itself.
Well, this form here, I think the woman that made it is no longer, she doesn't even live in Connecticut anymore. Let's see. It does have a place for motor vehicles, so evidently they do use this too. I'm trying to think of where we could put it. Okay, let's see. We might be able to put it underneath the,
Please provide.
yeah, that would make sense to put it there. And additional materials or something like that.
Photographs, reports, or
I'll
any.
see if I don't know what she used to make it, to make the report, you know, the page out, but I'll see if I can alter it without screwing it up. And any relevant documents,
Yeah,
please provide.
would that cover pictures too?
Well, I suppose we could, but you don't want to put too many words because then it won't fit on the page.
True.
Well, we can take some of the stars out.
I can take some of the what?
Stars. There's like a whole line of stars.
Well, she's got one on each end, yeah. And any, or should I, all relevant documents or?
Yeah. Reports, photographs, or any relevant document.
Reports, photographs. I'll just put photos and any
Relevant document.
documents. Okay. Okay. Because this would probably apply only to real estate, not the cars. They really should bring, we've had people come that had several cars and they don't bring them to the hearing. So without being able to look at them. See, that's one area where the assessor and I disagree because he feels like condition of the vehicle or rust or whatever shouldn't be taken into consideration, but we can.
I disagree.
I do too.
I think it should be.
I do too. Then he says, then we should advertise that everybody with a motor vehicle should come to the BAA because they should all have an appeal. So I don't want that, but I do agree that, you know, I mean, my car is outside all the time and it's, I don't know, 8 years old. And it's in very good condition, but I take care of it. And other people say, well, I don't have it in a garage. Well, I don't either. You don't have to abuse your car.
I don't own a garage.
You should keep it clean. Well, we have a garage, but my husband's pickup is in there along with that 47 Jeep that's tucked in the corner. So there's, you know, we've had people come that have had accidents and they have dents. They got insurance payments, but they chose not to fix the car. So if you got paid by an insurance company to fix your car and you don't fix it, that doesn't give you a benefit of lowering the taxes on your car or the value of your car because you didn't fix it. You had the option and you didn't do it. You spent the money somewhere else. That's my opinion as far as when people have accidents and they don't get their car fixed. So
I agree with that.
I got to look into that whole, I haven't done motor vehicle yet, so I've got to kind of explore it.
yeah, we have books that we go by, and we do, we did take off for high mileage. We always did that because some people have to drive along a lot to go to work and come back again. And so that does devalue the car. But unless there was some structural, you know, rusting and stuff like that. But I believe we should. But see, now Andover's minimum amount for a vehicle or value for a vehicle is $500, which, as Alan and I found out at the class, and you probably did too, Linda, that's set by each town, that minimum value.
Right, right.
And, I remember one year we didn't realize that was the town of Andover's minimum, and there was some farm vehicles that we lowered to $300 value. Well, you can't do it in Andover. The minimum is $500. So even though we only paid $300 for that old Jeep, it's valued at $500. So, but it's not that big an amount of money. It's a very small amount of money when you multiply that times the
mill rate.
So it isn't worth, you know, making a big stink over. Okay, how much more time we got left?
10 minutes.
Okay.
Any other items that we should address?
Not that I can think of. You all three of you have handbooks, right, from the
Yes.
CAAO?
I have one, yes.
You don't have one?
No, I do have one.
Oh, okay. And I went through and like underlined or highlighted things that I have to remember to do as a chairman. And you know, the things that we should be doing as a board. So the minutes have to be available to the public within 7 days of each meeting, that will be done. Normally all this stuff has to be done by the end of March, but this pandemic has changed things a little bit. And I will be returning this PC to our laptop. It's actually a ThinkPad to.
That's what I have.
Yeah. Yeah, I just have an old desktop that doesn't have audio or visual. So as Amanda and I found out, when I hung up the phone, she couldn't hear me anymore. So, but it hasn't been too bad. You know, I'm a little more comfortable with it now than I was before. I just have to keep my husband out of the kitchen while I'm
doing great.
Yeah.
Look at you.
I know, and it's now last week I wasn't connected, even though I was connected on Thursday when I went in, but I evidently have the Comcast Xfinity. I know I have Xfinity Wi-Fi because they made me get it through them. But I had my own Wi-Fi that I got from Kennedy on Route 6. And I think that's what I'm on now. I think that's my home 3800. So that's what I was on last week. It said Xfinity was connected, but I still couldn't get on. So then I connected the home 3800, whatever that is. I think that was my original Wi-Fi. So
Amanda, how up to date are you on this tech stuff? Like, I see this sign, internet unstable, come up like 5 or 6 times.
Really?
So should I get a booster?
Just your own internet. That's happened to me a few times during the meetings. And I don't know, for me personally, it's happened when it's windy out. So okay. I don't know where you live. I do live on
I'm on the lakefront, and the wind is hitting us pretty hard.
So
that could be it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't had any trouble today personally.
So a Wi-Fi booster, do you think that would correct it, or I'd still have the problem?
I'm not sure. I
I'll
I
call
know-
Brian. I'll call Kennedy and ask.
Yeah, ask him, do you use Xfinity?
I do.
I know they're very busy right now, but
Hmm,
I'm
that
sure they
could
would
be it.
maybe have an answer or something that would help.
So we won't have another meeting until the fall then, is that what I'm understanding?
Correct.
All right, we can't see each other.
Not to discuss anything to do with the board, no. I mean, you're not, you're being unstable again, Alan.
So just for website purposes, I have the motor vehicle hearing set for Saturday, September 12th from 9 to 12.
Yep.
Yep.
Do they need to fill out any forms or are you confirming that?
I think it's the same form.
Yeah, it's the same form. Yeah, you can get a form from the assessor's office.
So how should it read on the website? What should I put there?
Be sure to fill out a form in the assessor's office and bring it with you, I guess. That would be.
Do you know the deadline for that? Is there one?
I don't think there is one, but bear in mind that the town office is not open on Friday.
Do we have the form available on the website?
It might be.
The blank
It
form?
should be, actually.
It should be.
Well,
It's
we
the
have,
same form.
are you able to go on the website right now and look to see what's there?
I'm on there right now.
So it's,
Oh, I do see forms.
yeah, but is there a different one for motor vehicle?
No, it's the same one. The top is, you know, the property owner or whatever, that information, and then there's a motor vehicle section on that same form.
Okay.
It'll just have to be updated for the next year, right? Because this one says grand list October
list
2019.
Yeah, and generally, this year, I'm the one that did that and sent it to Roberta. So next year,
Okay, so is something like, please fill out the appeal form and bring to the meeting, find the form in the assessor's office or here online?
yeah, that's
Is that
fine.
okay?
That's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, because, and you know, one of the big things that helps us with the motor vehicle is the VIN number, because those books that we look in, the VIN number tells if they have extra accessories and all that stuff in that, because it's all valued in the books. That's another thing. I mean, they do it once a year, but every year when I start looking at those books, I got to start all over again, try to understand them, because for one thing, the print's very small and I'm old.
And if I'm correct, they can also, he can put a value even on parts of cars, right?
What do you mean? Like,
If someone has a car without an engine, it still has a value as a
personal property,
It's personal price, not motor vehicle.
not motor vehicle. It's got to be registered to be motor vehicle.
Ah, so your Jeep's registered?
No. The Jeep hasn't been run. I broke it years ago. And it hasn't been running probably 25 years or more. It hasn't been registered, but we had a lovely neighbor down the street that got mad at me for some reason and she reported it. I didn't know it had to be reported as personal property. So she reported it. And the gal that was in there at the time called me up and she said, "Do you have an old Jeep in your garage?" I said, "Yeah, why?" She said, "Well, you have to put out a personal property." I said, "Really? It doesn't run? It's not registered?" She said, "No, it has to be." Because again, the history of that is that probably everywhere, but in Connecticut, people would have these very valuable cars and they would take the registration off for the winter. So it wasn't on the October grand list, so they wouldn't end up paying taxes on it. And then they would put the registration back on in the spring. And so the state was losing all that revenue because they would take the registration off in September and then they would put it back on in April or whatever it is. So now, if it's not registered, you have to report it as personal property. And, you know, probably like in Fairfield County where there's a lot of expensive cars, that would make a big difference to the tax rolls. So they came up with a law to stop that. So our old, we can't even, I mean, we'd be better off if we had it registered as an antique, but it's not running. So you can't do that either because you got to go to motor vehicle with it. So, but it's not a large amount of money. It's a very small amount. The first year was a little more because of a penalty, but.
Well, that guy sounded like he'd buy it.
He said he was looking for an old military. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one's, I mean, it has a roll cage and it, you know, was set up because he used to race in the New England four-wheelers. He and his brother and a few other people started the New England four-wheelers some years back, way back.
Wow.
And his brother, of course, we got out of it after, you know, after a while, we had kids and all that stuff. Although we did a lot of family things with the Jeeps and went to Pennsylvania and raced in the woods and things like that. It was very popular then, but now there's so many restrictions. And then people were putting a lot of money into motors, so it became more than you run what you brung, you know, type thing. And so it became too competitive. So it wasn't fun anymore. So that's why we kind of like got away from it. And now there's still New England four-wheelers, but it's a whole different club than it was then.
Interesting.
It was fun.
So what time do we have?
We have 11:57. All right.
I got 11:59.
Okay.
11:59.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I heard that.
I said, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn the BAA meeting.
I will second it.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much, Amanda.
You're welcome. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Yep. Sorry I was late.
That's all right.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.